This is a deck of cards, and today I'll be using them to write a short story. So while I shuffle them, let me tell you why. I found these online a few months ago. They're the Art of Play Ultimate deck by Dan and Dave, and unlike a regular deck of cards, these put the focus on the art. Now, each card is still part of a suit. It just might be a little harder to figure out which one it belongs to. The reason I picked these up is because of the art, and I thought they could implement a fun element into writing. Actually, they helped me overcome writer's block in the latest novel I'm writing. They feel fantastic, and I'm so scared of using them because they're so pretty, hence the poor shuffling. Don't come at me. Okay, let's get to picking out our cards. I'm going to draw 5 cards, but I'm only allowed to choose 3 of them to write with. This way, if I chance myself into a corner with the pulls, I can give myself a sneaky way out. Alright, let's see what we have here. So, first card is a lemur. Okay, we have an animal theme going, that's interesting. Maybe the lemur has a cool character. Second, a star. First thing that comes to mind is like a guiding star, like a guiding point in the sky maybe. Third card, an octopus, and another animal. There are quite a few animals in here. Interesting, I might get rid of this one, but it's giving me like Cthulhu vibes for some reason. Okay, fourth card, I love this. This is giving me horror vibe and I've been in a very horror mood, so this is definitely staying in the pack. Okay, I like this one too. It's okay, like a cool Mother Nature feeling. I've taken, I think, about 2 days away after I picked these cards out initially, and I've not thought about them at all. My initial response looking at them now, I'm not in love with the lemur. I think it may be straying into the absurd a little bit. Maybe the character would have a lemur sidekick, or maybe the lemur would have to speak for it to be interesting. I'm not really looking to do that. I've recently written something similar with like a speaking animal, and I'm kind of over that now. I'm kind of good. The star, interesting. I like that it is more, I guess, a secondary element. Maybe it can provide the main character guidance in some kind of way. Like, it doesn't have to be anything, it can just be a star. The octopus, I'm not sold on. I'm not sold on including a body of water or having an octopus that is land dwelling, so I think that one's out. The last 2 I really do love. They're giving me spooky vibes. It is early November when I'm creating this video. That's so close to Halloween still. I mean, Halloween should last as long as Christmas and New Year's, in my eyes. So I think what I have decided here is we're going to take the star, we're going to take the clown, bovine, and we're going to take the Mother Nature card, and we're going to dump the rest and kind of see what we can get up to. So typically the way I write short stories, or even novels in general, are on the fly. I don't like to think of anything concrete because I like the story to unravel and speak for itself. I'm a big believer that if the characters should exist, they usually come to you and, I don't know, kind of like have their own lives in a weird way. That might sound really heady and very like, oh, that's really stupid. It probably is, to be honest. If you love drafting things, you're probably the smarter person than I am, because the way I typically write, I back myself and write myself into a corner all the time. The good thing is that the characters usually know how to get out of it and kind of tell me. I'm sure that sounds insane, but that is how it works in my brain. Okay, so having said all that, I am going to note down some ideas. When I'm done, we can catch up and maybe I'll read through it. Maybe you'll like that. Who knows? I think I'll like it. I can definitely get in my own head and right to perfection, but I think with this exercise it would be amazing to just get something on the page. Doesn't have to be amazing or fantastic, and then at the end of it there might be a really cool idea. A lot of the time this is how I get ideas for novels, and then I write like 300 pages or something that previously didn't exist, and it's all based on like a short story of like 500 to 1,000 words of dribble. So having said that, let's see what this dribble is all about. Lost in the brush, the man placed his hand upon the ground again. His fingers sunk into the moss and returned wet upon the feeling of that known, resounding thump from deep underground. He waited patiently and knowingly. In time the woman would appear. And so she did. Each time was different, in time and in appearance. In his months of travelling he had seen her emerge from sandstone, ocean, bark, the bud of a flower and more. Today she appeared almost shyly from within the sprigs of moss. A dull eye peered out, the other was covered. Her mouth worked its way through the carpet, white teeth stained green as the woman carefully chewed up the moss and swallowed it with ease. Would it be direction again, traveller? She strained. It would be, maiden, he replied. Then you head north. The thick leaves of the brush muffled a distant scream, silenced the latter half of a howl. For how cold the autumn had turned upon arriving in this place. Under the blanket of the jungle trees, the dirt and decay trapped a dense heat. How far would you have me travel? He asked. But a few more steps. The maiden smiled. A splash of dew wet the traveller's cheeks. A pale finger had pushed its way through the moss and was now pointing north to two crossed trees. You would have me travel until I'm weary and fall victim. The woman only smiled again, and as the traveller followed her finger once more to the direction of the trees, upon returning his gaze to her, he found that only a mushroom for an eye and mossballs for teeth remained. Wiping the sweat from his brow, the traveller departed. As he stumbled north, passing the crossed trees and under a small clearing in the canopy, where gusts of wind swept a fine rain overhead, he appeared after a mile or two before a smooth wall. This was it had to be. A swipe of his finger upon its surface revealed no imperfections. Its structure stretched far and wide. There was no end in sight, not even in its height. Rising, it pushed through the sparse branches which dared grow near it and into the patchy leaves far, far above. The traveller kneeled, planting his palms onto the coarse ground before the seamline of the structure, which seemed to continue underground as though the world was built around it. There was an answer to his call, but not in the way of a thump. A small hole, perhaps 2 feet wide and 1 foot tall. It would be a struggle, but he was sure he could maneuver through it. Through it to the 7-pointed room. It lay just beyond the tunnel which was an entrance. It couldn't be, but it seemed assuredly so, but that didn't make any sense. How, after all this time, all these miles and near sleepless nights, could he place faith in a castle with a drawbridge permanently lowered? The question remained as he pressed into the hole, his shoulders scraping against ragged walls which nipped at him with little bites that drew blood and a darkness that ended as soon as it started. It had taken under a minute to pass through the crevice and emerge into the pointed room. Impressed into the floor was a bronze star. At each of the pointed ends was a large pearl whose sheen had long been conquered by thick dust and spots of mould. This wasn't how it should be. Not at all, not at all. This isn't right, this can't be, the traveller thought. This isn't what was described, he cried, slamming his hands down onto the bronze. Heat spread through his palms. Above him the echo of a detached voice chimed through the hollow walls. A pendulum hung above, a metal chain which appeared from within the internal void of the far towering structure. But no light affected the crystal hanging from its end. No light which, as was explained, should be reflecting onto the pearls. There was no dome, no keeper of light, nothing of which was promised. Only a stifled sob which rang from the walls like a forgotten prayer. Dull scratching escaped from the crevice, and so that was it. It had arrived. Caught up after all this time, the traveller braced himself, lowering his body against the floor, stretching out, holding out hope that by some miracle, the pearls would shine once more with the lights of the Maiden's Tower to protect him. But as he turned to face the small tunnel, he knew what fate awaited him. From within the dark, a white-gloved hand crawled out, followed by a green, puffy sleeve adorned by red, fuzzy hearts. A finger tapped upon the bronze star, tap, 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 point. It marked the traveller. The hand curled up into a fist. 2 fingers sprang out and began walking. The arm it was attached to stretched like taffy until the material ripped at its seams to reveal thin strips of muscle. Exhausted, the traveller allowed the hand to reach him, grip him, drag him, slowly back towards the tunnel, towards the conical hat with its similar heart and towards the tip of 2 horns, into the darkness where for one last time he met the maiden, who whispered, "Sorry." Okay, so what do I think? I really enjoyed this challenge. I think the outcome was actually alright. I enjoyed the direction I went in. It was almost like a fairy tale. Does it make total sense? No, I don't think so, but it does hold enough interest to allow for some interpretation. I have an idea of what I think is happening at the very least, and I can say from experience that this would be enough for me to go off if I wanted to expand the scope. I might do this again someday with another round of cards. Maybe I could pull from a list of genres too to make it even more interesting. If you liked this, why not try it yourself with some art that you have at home? Let me know how it goes, but for now, thanks, bye.